So I'm Darlene Hansen, and I'm the training coordinator and lead person on Communication Access Connect with DVU. I am a young senior person. I'm a speech and language pathologist by training. I have red glasses on. I have kind of shoulder length gray blonde hair, and I'm wearing a white t-shirt with a V-neck with the Disability Voices United banner in the back that is in gray. So I'm going to pass this on to you, William. You're next on my screen. You want to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is William Del Rosario, and I am a Hispanic Filipino male in my 20s with short black hair, brown eyes, and I wear glasses. I'm an intern with DVU and a multimodal communicator who uses augmentative and alternative communication, or AAC, via typing and my iPad. Thank you for making the time to be here.
Thanks, William. And then because I don't follow a script, I should let everybody know that if you are a Spanish speaking person and you want to listen to the simultaneous Spanish interpretation, you should definitely go to the globe at the bottom of your screen, choose interpretation, choose Spanish. However, if you're English speaking and you want to hear everything in English, you should go to your globe, go to interpretation, and choose English.
Yes, so everybody go to your little globe and pick English or Spanish. If you don't see the little globe, or if you're on a phone, you'll need to click the three dots that say more for other features, and then you'll see your little globe that says interpretation.
And choose accordingly. And that was Michaela. She's another member of our team. And she'll be in the background or a very small box on the top of your screen.
Exactly.
Helping us out. Okay, Nina.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Nina Spiegelman. I'm the policy director for DVU. And as always, this is like my favorite gathering of our DVU programs. So thank you all for being here. Unlike Darlene, I'm an old senior. So gray hair, black and white striped shirt, pink background behind me of DVU from our Emerging Leaders program, because I couldn't find any of the other ones. That I had 80 million of these, and this is all I could find. They disappeared. I want a cool gray one like William and Darlene have. But anyway, we're very excited to have our speakers on today. So I'll turn it back to Darlene, and thanks everybody for coming.
Great. Thank you. That's our DVU team. Well, hang on. As I said, I do a couple of announcements. So we did the self-determination program and supported decision-making event last week in Oakland, and I think it was a great success. It was a great day. Everybody was so engaged and excited and learning. I mean, there's downers that we talked about, but for the most part, everybody felt like they were supported, right? And so that's a great thing. That was in Northern California. Our next replication of that will be in Southern California, and that'll be on November 19th in Los Angeles at the Endowment Center. And so if you are in Southern California, or you know others in Southern California who are in SDP or want to learn more about supported decision-making or want to learn about being in SDP, let them know about the event. Go to our website, and I think Michaela's putting the link in there, and sign up to join us. We oversold on the Oakland session. So if you're thinking about going, sign up now, because the space is limited. Okay. But we accommodated everybody, but I'm just saying it was that attractive to people to come. So if you're thinking about going, please sign up and do that. The other thing I want to tell you all is that next Thursday at 4 p.m., the LCC Leadership Community Connection
Leadership Collaborative Connect.
Oh, I did not remember that one. Leadership Collaborative Connect is happening next Thursday at 4 p.m. and we will have Lisa Mosca. How do you say that Mosca word, Nina?
Lisa Mosca.
Just Lisa
Lisa
Moscow?
Moscow.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's what,
yeah.
okay. Lisa Moscow. And she's going to be with us talking about the education, special education. So that should be a really great topic. And I hope everyone gets there. I don't know if Brian is online, or if Michaela or Nina, if you know any announcements about the ambassadors program. Nothing?
Let me look for Brian one more time because I know they have them. No, Brian, and then I have one other one other foolproof way to check.
There is, you know, we of the people we had a long period of open seats because we're trying to have ambassadors for every regional center. We had started out with 5, then we went to 10, and now I don't know if we're actually closing anything off, but I know that there was going to be of ambassadors already of selected. We were going to have a meeting this week. I'm not 100% sure that is still on because I had a strange email, but we will get that. It will be in our, check for daily and weekly emails because they will get posted there.
And I did just check the announcements, and it seems like the ambassador announcements are off now. So I think that they're starting their actual program, that their application isn't open anymore.
I think,
Okay.
Right. I think we've finally closed it.
Oh,
up.
good. Well, hopefully some of you are involved in that. That's a really great strengthening program, I think. Okay, so today we have invited, and we're excited about having 2 women from the California Siblings Leadership Network. And this is a network of people. I think you're based out of San Diego, although as a California network, you're probably like us and you're online a lot of the time. Yep. But Kaylin Ferris is going to be joining us, and she is their board president she's in the Bay Area. And then Julie Neward is a co-founder and on the board, and she as well will be presenting, and they're going to talk about, and I've been thinking about this for a long time, and in my own work as well as in DVU's work, that as I'm getting older and other people are getting older, your clients get older, and the people you surround yourself with as well. And so I think that siblings and lifestyles and all the demands that go on, and have the expectations that people have and the responsibilities that you all have as siblings are either something you're currently thinking about, or if you're a parent, I'm pretty sure you're thinking about it in your head and wondering who's going to be there, how's that going to work, all those questions and ideas you have in your head. So that's why I wanted to have Julie and Kaylin come and join us today. So as usual, they're going to be presenting, and then you can put your questions in the chat, and you can write your questions down whenever you feel like it, and then we'll answer them. I was going to say whenever we feel like it. No, we'll answer them at the end. Okay. And do the standard protocol for that. So I'm going to have you, Julie, get us started. Thank you for being here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having us. We are very, very, very excited to be here today. And our presentation today is called The Future is Now. So our goal today is to just give you more information about siblings, as well as to give you tools to use to have conversations if you have a sibling in your life who will be either a care manager, a caregiver, or a care provider, or somebody who's just a supporter. So hopefully we give you some new tools and insights through our presentation. Next slide. So again, Kaylin and I are on the board of the California chapter of the National Sibling Leadership Network. And the National Sibling Leadership Network is chapter-based, and there are over 28 chapters throughout the United States. We are part of the organization called the Sibling Leadership Network. We are currently a 501c3, all volunteer board organization, as many organizations start. We're small but mighty, and our mission is to build a network of information, support, and advocacy resources. And the key word here is we really want to empower SIBs to thrive throughout all stages in life. We're building the space for SIBs to participate, really share their experiences, and validate their experiences as well. The Sibling perspective is very unique and very different. And oftentimes it is a perspective that is not tapped into. A little bit of history here, but as you know, unfortunately, people were institutionalized. And then as time went on, individuals with disabilities were then living with their family and amazingly out in the community. So now the family is in more of a support role, and that's why our organization is so relevant today. So as we're California based, we want to give you guys just a little bit of information about our population. So right now there's about 1.6 million residents in California with a cognitive disability, which is more than any other state. And we are also the largest state. And 4 out of 5 adults with disabilities, about 81%, live with their parents or guardians. Again, it's family support. And 35% of caregivers out there are between the age of 41 and 59. Important statistic here. More than 1 in 3 parents of adult children with disabilities report that other children are planning to take care of their sibling with a disability when they pass on. So it's really important to talk about future planning and really understand what that transition of care looks like. And then hopefully, again, today you'll get some tools and tips on how to have that conversation. So let's get back to basics. Who are SIBs? Because again, our name is called California SIBs. So SIBs are the sisters, brothers of people with intellectual and developmental disability. It could be a sib-in-law, which is a spouse or significant other. It could be cousins, foster siblings in the same house. And then we also have what's called SIB supporters. So that looks like parents, friends and family, service providers, and the greater community. Oftentimes there are people that aren't siblings that may share common experiences, and we want to let you know that we do include you as a SIB. As every great organization starts, we have a vision, and we want to share that vision with you. So the California Sibling Leadership Network envisions a future where SIBs, the siblings of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, have a thriving support network throughout all stages in life. Again, while we focus primarily on the needs of sisters and brothers who have intellectual and developmental disabilities, we welcome anyone who self-identifies. This may, again, include sib-in-laws, cousins, friends, and it may also include people with physical or mental health disabilities or who have additional support needs. Oftentimes, people who have a sibling that has a mental health diagnosis and needs support, they come to us as well. Our values. Our pillars really are to support, advocate, inform, and empower. And as I get older, I need readers. So let me make my screen a little bigger. Support. We provide opportunities for SIBs to really gather in a safe place, share their stories, learn, and stay connected so they feel prepared as they navigate their family needs and their own needs. And we do this through monthly meetups, which can be virtual or in person. We've also recently launched a program with the Sibling Leadership Network and the Oregon chapter of the Sibling Leadership Network called Oregon SIBs, and it's called SIB Thrive. And we can give information out about that later. But SIB Thrive is a 6-week cohort to help siblings come together and discuss various topics. And Kaylin was a part of that curriculum. We're also here to advocate. We voice the needs of SIBs and their family members at the local and state level, really to ensure policymakers include people with disabilities. We build, collect, and share knowledge and tools to equip SIBs to advocate as well. And we really do this. We have a proclamation through two municipalities. One is the city of San Marcos, and I think, Kaylin, we have another one, and I can't quite recall who it's with. Do you recall?
Practicing finding my mute button. We have a letter from the governor from 2024, and I'm blanking on the other city as well. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. But yes, we have a letter of support from the governor. And then we also have every 2 years, so biannually, we have a National Sibling Day event where we get SIBs together. Typically that date is around April 10th. Inform. We really want to educate SIBs, families, and the community about the unique needs of SIBs, and that's part of why we're here today. We affirm that SIBs can have a powerful positive impact on their siblings' experience, and we're really uniquely positioned to help ensure their present and future care in partnership with service organizations, government entities, and the community. And I'm really proud to share that there's a core group of people within California SIBS on the board, and we also have an amazing advisory council if anybody would like to get further involved. And we're working on a guide, pardon my language, but it's called the oh shit kit, because oftentimes a transition happens in a moment that people are not prepared for. And this guide is more of a technical guide with some anecdotal stories from SIBs and their experiences that will guide a sibling who's taking on the care of their brother or sister in regards to navigating various facets through life. And mainly our concerns are housing and financial stability, and how do we help our brother and sister find housing, and how do we help them as well as ourselves be financially independent. And I believe that covers everything there. So I bet you want to know about me. So again, my name is Julie Payne Neward, and on this fabulous slide, the top left picture has my sister Natalie, who's on the far left in the red dress, and then my brother Philip in the blue, and then my kid sister Patricia, and obviously I'm the big protective sister holding my little sister. I have two sisters with support needs. One has high support needs, and the other sister has lower support needs. And so right now, our baby sister, as shown in the picture, Patricia, is hired through self-determination as Natalie's staff. Unfortunately, Natalie is a Me Too survivor, and we have a whole advocacy campaign around that under the Natalie Project. But we have been able to find our circle of support, and we've been able to find a structure that works for the family to make sure that Natalie is living her best life. And in the bottom left picture, there's us a little bit older, a little bit wiser, probably from about 3 years ago at Natalie's 40th birthday. But yeah, so just a little bit about Natalie. We're from Northern California, Walnut Creek, and Natalie was born without a disability. And then at a very young age, about 27 months of age, according to my mother, Natalie fell into a coma, which essentially left her brain damaged with very high support needs. And so for a majority of my life, I have been mommy's helper and the second caregiver in the family, taking care of Natalie and helping manage her life. And now that baton is passed to Patricia. Please note, it's the two sisters in the family who are taking on most of the care. I now live in beautiful sunny San Diego with my husband and my two children, but I'm doing a lot of advocacy work, and I do a lot of care management and making sure Natalie has what she needs. Very proud to share that we're getting Natalie an electric electric tandem bicycle, hopefully through self-determination, which is such a wonderful program for our family.
All right. Nice to meet everyone that's here live with us or watching the recording. My name is Kaylin Ferris. I am a middle-aged white woman with shoulder-length brunette hair, and I am wearing a black and white blouse with a black sweater and black glasses. So the photos here are with my brother, Jonathan. Jonathan sadly is no longer with us. He passed away when we were in our 20s following complications from a stroke. But, you know, Jonathan really shaped my entire childhood. He, like Julie's sister, was born typical and had a brain tumor when he was a toddler. I'm showing my age here, but in the late 70s, treatment for childhood cancer was quite dramatic and not quite as refined as it's become in more recent years. But as a result, Jonathan had physical and developmental disabilities. So some of the photos here, you know, upper left, we're at Disneyland sharing a photo with Donald Duck. You know, kind of two peas in a pod doing everything together. On the bottom left, you see Jonathan at a high school age. I think we're at Knott's Berry Farm there with Snoopy. So, you know, that starts to tell the story of how our childhood started to diverge as our developmental stages were different as we got older. But like I said, you know, two peas in a pod, really enjoyed everything that siblings enjoy doing together in our younger years, playing, having fun, sharing experiences, and really that full pure experience. As we got older, my trajectory was really focused on being a future caregiver for Jonathan. At the time, we did not project that he would be able to live independently, and that he would need, per our family's wishes, would want to stay more in a family home. So I graduated college a year early, went straight through to grad school with the idea that I better get my career in as fast as possible, because there would be a break coming at some point in the future where I would step into a more active caregiving role. Like I said, Jonathan had a stroke when we were in our 20s, and he passed away before I was able to step into that new role between the two of us. But it, has forever shaped my story, who I am, the things that are important to me, and my work with California SIBS is very much in a legacy of his in his honor. All right. So today we've got a bit more information about future planning and the role of SIBS in that process. Most of our language will assume that there are relatively high support needs for the person with disability. That's not going to apply to everyone. And we'll try and also show some examples where it's really more lower support needs, circle of support. But pardon our language if we use caregiver a little bit more in this presentation, because that's a bit more where it's grounded from. So, one of the things that we've found through some of the research and talking with other SIBs is, it's future planning is a topic that is hard to talk about, hard to put down in action, but that doesn't mean that we're not all thinking about it. Parents are thinking about it, siblings are thinking about it, the person with a disability is thinking about their own future. And really the barrier is when we, that finding the difficulty in coming together to talk about it. But we really want to encourage families to find the space to do that because it really leads for better outcomes for the entire family. Obviously, that's increased self-determination for the person with a disability and being able to voice what they're interested in, what they want in their life, but also the same for other family members. A lot of times parents will just assume that siblings will step in to fill exactly the same role that they as parents have played. And that may not be what the sibling wants for their own future. So when we think of self-determination, we're really thinking about that for the entire family and how that family unit works together. The more that we talk about it, the more we can revisit it, change it as things change in our own lives. So increasing the quality of the plan as we continue to iterate on that, and really making sure that it's something that works for everyone. So again, we really encourage folks to take the step to have those future planning conversations. I'm sure many of you are familiar with these reasons why it can be hard. It's just an uncomfortable thing to think about, the unknown of the future. It can be hard to talk about differing opinions. We can make assumptions about what other family members are thinking, or we can just sort of be overwhelmed about that. But if we are not having those conversations, then we're not as prepared as we can be, again, as a family unit and for all the people in the family. We can, again, make up things. We can catastrophize and think about worst case scenarios. We can forget to pass along important information. It's a complicated legal world out there, and there's all kinds of, eligibility and probate and all kinds of legal and financial things that can happen if we're not being proactive about things. So we're not trying to trick the system by any means. We're just trying to make sure that what people want to happen happens because there's a plan in place for that. And then lastly, just again, that emotional component of it. It's hard to talk about the future and to talk about differing opinions and to figure out how to negotiate when, the person with a disability wants something and others think that there should be a different plan, or you're prescribing an outcome for someone that's not yourself. So it can be difficult. But we really, again, are coming back to if we all are able to put our concerns on the table, have an open dialogue, revisit that conversation over time, making sure that we all have a clear understanding of what we want to have happen. We can be in service of the person with the disability. We can have their voice really in the center of the conversation. They can say, I don't want to live with my brother or sister, or I do want this thing or this other thing. Really just continuing to build that conversation over time. And again, just, good communication plans around that can involve regular family meetings, where we're all coming together to talk about things that are important to all of us. We can take turns being the ones in charge of running that meeting and deciding what the topics are that we want to cover. We can look at starting to build documentation. Again, Julie mentioned our OSK, our OSHA kit, for helping us to pull that information together, know what to ask, know what documents to dig up. So we can share more about that. Contingency planning, so a plan A and a plan B and a plan C to really allow us to think about different possibilities as everyone's roles and family, marriages and jobs and where we live and all of those things change over time. So really making sure that we all understand the ripple effects of how those work together. And then, of course, that roles and expectations and reality checks. So parents don't get to decide everything for our siblings with disabilities or for ourselves. We all get to have a voice. And so how do we make sure that we're all communicating that? Julie, I'm going to pass it back to you to talk about the role of SIBs.
Yeah. So the question, why involve siblings in future planning? And the godfather of the sibling movement, his name is Mr. Don Meyer, and he started this sibling support project, which also has a resource called SibNet on Facebook. They have about 7,000 members, all siblings. And here's why. And this is what he says. If you want to assure the long-term positive outcome for a family member with a disability, invest in their brothers and sisters. And it's a powerful quote because it really draws attention to both the need to support the family member with a disability as well as the siblings in the house. And this relationship, which is lifelong, is significant for several reasons. And there's an emotional impact. Siblings oftentimes share a unique bond. And if you have a sibling, think about them and that bond that you had growing up. That really shapes their emotional well-being. And really understanding this relationship helps highlight the emotional challenges and joys that really come with having a sibling that has support needs. Great example is I still believe that I have a very, actually I don't believe, I know I have a very strong relationship with my sister, Natalie. And the challenge for me is she lives in Northern California with my mom and my younger sister, and I can't just call my sister to say hi. So I have to FaceTime my younger sister in order to see my sister Natalie without making my younger sister feel like she's getting neglected. And a couple years ago, I took Natalie to Napa for one night. I took her out. We had a little B&B downtown Napa where we had our own little house with a bathtub and a yard. And I took my sister for one night. And it was absolutely beautiful. We went out to dinner. We got to sit under the stars. She got to sleep in and rest. And my poor mother didn't know what to do with herself for one day. And I was under the assumption my mom could use the break, but she missed taking care of Natalie so much. Oftentimes growing up, my mother would say, "You don't have to worry about Natalie. I got her." And I honestly have to remind my mom, she is my sister. No matter what support needs, I might cry, no matter what support needs she has, we have a bond and we're siblings, and I want to enjoy life with her and have new experiences. So please don't think that, I don't want to be with her because there's support needs. I do, but I just want to be prepared for what those needs are. So if you could help me pack her bag, that would be great. Support systems is the next item. So siblings play a crucial role in their siblings' life, and we act as advocates, caregivers, and companions. And I'm sure many people who work within the regional center system clearly see that. Recognizing this dynamic can help families and communities better support siblings. And what I will share with you is there is no real support for siblings, especially adult siblings out in the world right now. There's an amazing program called Sib Shops, and they have a training program, and you can attend these SIB shops, which are community driven, but it's for youth, typically ages 8 to 12. For me personally, I found a lot of support in my church youth group, but I didn't know at the time that's what it was. And hindsight's 2020. There was one other SIB in that group. Again, there's deinstitutionalization awareness. And it really focuses on the importance of integrating individuals with disabilities into society, which us siblings are all for, because it will hopefully make our lives a lot easier. And discussing sibling relationships can illustrate the need for more community-based supports and the benefits of family involvement. There's also identity and advocacy. So siblings become advocates for their disabled siblings. And I think a lot of us do that at a young age. And I think honestly, as siblings, we've seen a lot of injustices as well. And we've seen perhaps our siblings mistreated. And we get into what I would call, sister or brother bear mode. I remember back in the day, I volunteered with Natalie's summer school when she was in high school, and we went to Macy's in San Francisco. I volunteered, and we couldn't get in the building, and I sent a letter, and they quickly replied, CCing several people, and said, with our remodel, we'll make sure there's accommodations. But it was clearly very frustrating. What I will share here as well is there's social perceptions. Open discussions can challenge stereotypes and misconceptions about disability, fostering greater understanding and acceptance in society. And I think us as siblings in particular, we have one foot in and we have one foot out. I have a career in commercial real estate, and I live in the typical world, and I go to work and I manage property. But really, the other side of me is I'm a sibling of somebody with a disability, and I advocate. And I live in two different worlds, and I see that one world isn't as forthcoming and supportive of it as it can be, because really we need more of an understanding within society. Also, there's long-term considerations. As parents age, as parents get wiser and more experience, siblings oftentimes take on caregiving roles, not just for the sibling with a disability, but also for the parents. Tomorrow night, I'm flying up to Northern California to help my mom. She has her second knee surgery on Friday, and I'll also be supporting Natalie. And that's just a little dose of what might be in my future. And so really exploring these relationships can prepare families for future challenges and help develop strategies for sustainable support. So overall, addressing these themes foster greater empathy, understanding, and proactive planning for families and the community. Okay. So I want to share with you that the sibling experience can really parallel a parent's experience as well when compared to typical peers. So sibling experiences parallel, again, parent experiences. So again, services are more or less available for parents, but not for SIBs. And so we really want to encourage that family-based services encourage siblings, because we will also be in a caregiving role, perhaps like our parents. Also, newly diagnosed parents who have a child who's been newly diagnosed, they're connected with other parents during that time. And that really doesn't happen with SIBs. And I'm sure Kaylin could speak to that personally as well. But when you're a sibling, you're not really given the place to explore your feelings and understand what's going on with your brother or sister. And oftentimes, parents are looking to really support the person with a disability. And that's the focus and that's the necessity. However, there's a sibling as well who would like to be supported and have their feelings validated. There's concerns across the lifespan. We're here today under the presumption that everybody wants to look at a future plan and have that conversation. Siblings want to have that conversation as well, and it is so important. I'm 45, married with 2 children, and have a day job, and I'm very concerned about what's going to happen when I integrate Natalie into my life. I bought a house a couple years ago. I made sure there's a bedroom, which I'm sitting in right now, and a bathroom downstairs with a bathtub in case Natalie needs to live with me in the interim, and making sure she has the accommodations and supports. Had to tell my mom that. And, you know, right now the conversation in our family with my mom is, please move from Northern California to Southern California so that we can get Natalie set up with housing supports and doctors. Otherwise, it's all going to fall on me to do as the oldest sibling and the one who's most involved. Also note that no person has greater impact on a sib than their sibling with a disability. We really have a special bond and we have a very unique skill set that we'll get into. And we also spend most of the time with our brother or sister with a disability as well. We know the ins and the outs, but we might be a little bit different than parents because many of us want to encourage independence and make sure that our siblings are out in the community. Thank you, Kaylin, for moving me along. So as I mentioned, siblings have unique gifts and perspectives, and we'd love to bring these to the conversation. Even if you haven't heard from us, it's great to ask us. There's different expectations. What's going to happen in our lives? And here at California Sibs, we firmly believe that siblings need to be asked and given the opportunity to say, what are your hopes and dreams and what do you want to do with your life? And so as California Sibs, we've created the Sib Bill of Rights, which will be featured in the OSHIT kit. We have a different relationship than our parents. And I oftentimes remember a former board member told us that her mom used to shave her brother's face for him. And one day she said, why don't you let him do it by himself? So as siblings, we're there to make sure there's more independence. We want our siblings to learn a skill set and really learn and grow. And because when they get more independent, we will be allowed to have a little bit more independence as well within our lives. When I was back home recently, I was helping Natalie brush her teeth and trying to have her brush her teeth. And I have a video of it. And I know with support, Natalie can do it. And I believe that. She's a very smart woman. Natalie does not use words to communicate, but she does communicate through her behavior. Role model. So let me get into that a little bit. Oftentimes siblings serve as a role model, inspiring change or interest in a way that really parents can't do. There's also connection to the community. Because siblings are younger than parents, they may be more connected to more cool things for young people and really understand social media and have many career connections. For one of our caregivers, I was on Facebook and asked for help, and somebody turned around and said, I can help you. And also our kid sister likes to take Natalie to the movies and be out and be social and give my mom a little bit of a break. Oftentimes there's expertise in the field. So many siblings go into the field for a career. I did not choose that, but I chose to advocate on the outside. But many people in the field are siblings. And if you know somebody, please send them our way. And also it's abilities based. We really tend to see our siblings through an ability based lens. I've seen Natalie eat a peach. I've seen Natalie drink from a glass cup versus a sippy cup. I've helped Natalie with a straw. I really, really see Natalie full of so much potential with the right supports. And I want to encourage that. And I hope I get to do that when she's under my care. So as shared, there is a pending wave. Let's do the wave. A pending wave of SIBs as caregivers or care coordinators. And let's dive into a couple statistics here. But 40% of parents spend over 80 hours a week in caregiving, largely unpaid. I personally cannot afford to stop working, so I'm very worried about that. And how can we as a family create that structure? Do I have to start my own group home and manage that and make sure there's an income from there? And that's something I've asked ChatGPT about. Over 1/3 of family caregivers spend over $6,300 a year out of pocket. And hello, and Kaylin, you can wave too. The oldest daughter is the one who's most likely to take on the care. And it really impacts the economic and career prospects for her as well. So again, we really want our siblings to be as independent as possible. And I will personally say on behalf of our family with Natalie as a Me Too survivor, we want them as safe as possible as well. So again, here, 60% of SIBs anticipate caregiving, guys. 60% anticipate it. So hopefully there's conversations in your household. And about 19% of SIBs expect to live, or sorry, 19% of siblings expect to live with their SIBs. And so we're part of that club sandwich generation, aging parents. We have our own children, perhaps, or pet parents, and a sibling. And sibs may want to change that living situation. Here's the kicker. Less than 5% have done all recommended future planning, and 12% have done no planning. So it's imperative that we have these discussions to help support the individual with a disability to thrive and make sure siblings know what's coming and that we have the conversation. Listen, 78% of parents say we've discussed this with the sib. Don't worry about it. My mom tells me I have a binder. You can open that up and everything is in there. But 64% of us remain unclear on what those obligations are. So please take a look at this chart. It is a learning curve over time. And as you'll see here, parents have a very gradual blue line where they get to learn more over time in a very lovely cadence. But the red line represents siblings, and usually siblings get involved. And I'll say generally, it's in your 40s and 50s and 60s. We get involved later in life when we take on the care of our brother or sister, and there's a massive, massive learning curve involved. California SIBS, I'm really proud to share, and this was Kaylin's idea, but the State Council on Developmental Disabilities, of which I'm a councilwoman on, had a bill idea contest. And something we're really encouraging is that the state look at paying siblings through the current government programs, paid bonding time. And that is our bill idea. We don't want to take time when there's a medical issue. When we take on the care of our brother or sister, and we have various criteria that allows us to take on that care, we need to be paid by the state for 6 weeks to help transition our brother or sister, because technically it's like an adoption. It'll relieve our worries, and it'll give us time and space to focus on our brother or sister. And it'll also help our brother or sister have an easier transition. So we find out next Tuesday if we're prioritized, which I'm very excited about. And I think that is a real game changer for our community. Yeah. Okay, importance of inclusion. So we deserve a seat at the planning table. Every IEP, at an IPP, at various meetings, employer meetings, please ask us if we'd like to be involved and give us a seat to have that, give us an opportunity to have a seat. Siblings perspectives can really help shape realistic, sustainable care plans. And maybe there's ideas out there that somebody hasn't thought of. Again, for example, Natalie was in a day program. And again, we found out she was a survivor and we kept her home. And I had to advocate in the community for a one-on-one to come into the home. I, as her sister, did that. My mom was too tired. And then as time went on, we realized that we really need my younger sister to help support Natalie. And it was based on the family structure at that time. I advocated for self-determination. And we're so thankful for self-determination to give our family the flexibility to have my younger sister be paid to help take care of Natalie. And again, I, as the older sister, have been the one managing all of these care plans and making sure that it's long-term and sustainable. I honestly would say without me, it wouldn't be happening, and there would be a lot of grief in the household. And also early involvement reduces crisis. Early involvement really reduces crisis-driven decisions later on. And we all know haste makes waste. So the more upfront we are, the more that decisions are discussed or options are discussed in the beginning, we can help make better decisions later on. And Kaylin, I'm going to turn it over to you now and take a little break.
All right. And thanks for our translators noting that our pace is a little quick. So I appreciate the communication. I will try to learn. So bear with me as I try to focus on that. So thinking about supporting siblings more generally. So we have a whole presentation that we can go more deeply into this, but to just highlight some of those different things at different age ranges. We all as humans have different developmental needs at different ages, and sibs or siblings are no different. So some of the things that we commonly see in this population in our preschool age, this is where we start to see some of the extremes. So either acting out, so needing attention and doing bad things in order to get that attention from our parents or the other adults in our lives, or the alternate of acting perfect. So Julie, myself, our board members, those that are involved in California SIBS often find ourselves in that second group of acting perfect, trying to live up to our parents' full expectations, trying not to cause any trouble. And we see that, really continues throughout life, but starts in that earliest age. So that may be something as parents or as care providers that are interacting with entire families, just to keep an eye on helping people find that middle again. And that can be a lot through more information or quality time with adults. As we age into more of the elementary school age, and start to interact more with our peers in school, we can see that, again, that kind of duality can emerge. Sometimes we might feel embarrassed about differences because we don't understand how to explain those differences, or we may become protective as we see bullying or other negative reaction from our peers in school. So really helping those elementary school age siblings with, again, information, but specifically like scripts and ways to communicate with others. As we get into the teenage years, developmentally, we see that, again, all as humans, we start to pull away from our family. We start to think about the future. We start to really be more cognizant of who we are as individuals. And so this is a great time to try things out, both for the person with disabilities and for the sibling. So, try going to an IEP meeting all together as a family. Have a conversation after those meetings about what the implications are. Start talking about plans, even if they're a little more general or abstract, just to start to have that conversation. And then where Julie and I spend a lot of time is with the adult SIBs. So again, thinking about the future happens at different points in time. So if you're in your early 20s and thinking about moving out of the family home, if you are in your 30s and having children of your own, if you're in your 40s, you're seeing your parents start to age and have perhaps some more serious health issues or end of life concerns, those will all trigger a corresponding plan or concern from any human, but from SIBS in particular, about what's going to happen to me and how do I plan for that future. So again, we aim to be there as California SIBS to support this population, but as family members and as service providers, anything that you can do to connect with SIBS in adulthood and help provide more information. I'm not going to read through all of these, and I'm conscious that we're running a little short on time. But really, kind of a couple of core principles is around asking, inviting, opening the conversation, coming back to it. So those are all variations on giving people choice, something that we hope for everyone, our siblings with disabilities, for ourselves, for our parents, for all family members. We all like to have choice in things. We all like to also be seen as individuals. So recognizing that, we exist within a family unit and we have some dependency between each other, but we also have our own hopes, fears, plans for the future. We all want information. We all want to be recognized for ourselves. And so really just continuing that conversation, inviting SIBS in, is really the kind of the core of our recommendation here. We have a couple of specific ideas here. I think we may have the opportunity to share these slides so you'll get to look at these in more detail. But really any of the activities that are involved with person-centered planning or self-determination, there's probably a parallel for every member of the family, including us SIBs. So whether that is kind of using stories to think about the future, whether it's circles of support and thinking about what does that circle of support look like for the SIB as well as the person with disability, planning and sort of voicing our questions and concerns, or even some role-playing exercises. These are all just ways to, again, continue the conversation, open up new perspectives, find out where there are questions and concerns. And again, just in interest of time, I'm not going to read through all of these, but there are a lot of ways where you can really capitalize on the relationship between the person with a disability and their sibling. So again, as peers and not just a third parent or a parentified child, but really as a peer, there's things that you would like to do with your brother or sister that you might not like to do with your mom or dad. So it's, going to the gym, practicing taking an Uber, talking about appropriate use of social media, being at school together, like all kinds of ways to, exist out in the community or interact digitally with parts of the community. That connection between a brother and sister is just different, and so in a lot of ways, if I say so myself, more special than a relationship with a mom or a dad, and so something that really can be cultivated or encouraged. Again, we'll try and get you these handouts, but we have some lists here of conversation starters with the recognition that it can be hard just to know where to start. It can feel like a very heavy topic to think about changing a family dynamic or to think about planning for the future. There can be, a lot of unspoken things between parents and their children, or even between brothers and sisters. And so we've got some ideas here about how to just kind of open that conversation. Some, prompts that you can ask and answer some questions, or maybe it'll inspire you to think about some of your own questions. Julie, I think you've got a list here on the future planning side as well.
Yes, I do. And I'm going to try to speak very slowly because I'm known to speak quickly. This is what you're here for today. The next couple minutes are we're going to go over conversation starters. And this is very important. And again, I think if you take away any slide today, this is it. I really wish and I hope one day my mom will dive into these questions. And let me point out, you hear me talk about my mom a lot because she was a nurse and the primary caregiver of my sister, but also my father, I'd like to see him more involved as well in asking these questions. And this would be so wonderful. So here we go. First question, how do you imagine being involved in your siblings' life in the future? We'd love to hear your thoughts. And that's really opening the door and encourages the sibling to express their hopes and boundaries without the pressure of trying to take on the care and commit to that, in a moment's notice. Next, what do you think your sibling enjoys most? What do you think makes them anxious? You really know your sibling in a way we never could, and you're their brother or sister. And this really helps build a shared understanding of the individual's needs and preferences. Next, do you have any questions or concerns about the care of your sibling that they might need later on? Have you ever thought about what the future might look like? And it really, that opens up the space for siblings to voice their worries or uncertainties that they may have been holding in, or they may not have known they've been holding in as well. Many sibs out there do not know they're a sib until there's a crisis and they are in a role. Next question. What kind of support would help you feel more prepared or comfortable about the future? Really, we don't expect you to take everything on. And really, that shows empathy and creates opportunities to talk about support systems and shared responsibilities. Would you like to review the care plan, financial arrangements, or legal documents with us? I am Natalie's co-conservator. It's wonderful. On paper, I see my name and I get an annual report, but that's the extent of it right now. And really, that's the door to let's talk about some of the plans we've already started. Many parents have plans that have been started, especially with conservatorship, which, you know, we're really pushing people towards supported decision making as well. And I know that there's an emphasis out there now, but like for my sister Natalie, who's high support needs, I have to do, we're co-conservator. And really what that does is it invites the SIB into existing plans and helps ensure continuity, which is a very important word if they ever take on more responsibility. And we have a couple more to go here. Are there ways you'd prefer to stay involved that are meaningful to you? And really, that's what role do you want to play? And the key word is want. And it reinforces autonomy and supports decision making also on the siblings' terms. Oftentimes, we're focused on a person-centered plan for the person with a disability, and there might be an anticipation that the sibling folds themselves into that plan, but many siblings also want their own plan in life and have their own interests. And we want to make sure that those two kind of cross over. Or if they don't cross over, we know that and we can put a plan in place. Here, would it be helpful to meet with someone together, like a counselor or planner? And basically that means we don't have to figure everything out today. It reduces pressure and introduces the idea of ongoing supported planning. A key moment is attending your sibling's annual IPP meeting and being present at that. Last question, what's been hard? What's been rewarding as a sibling? I'm sorry, what's been hard? What's been rewarding about being a sib? And many sibs are not asked that question. And really what it means is, how do you feel about all of this? And it opens the door to emotional processing, which is essential for healthy long-term involvement. So next slide. Let's talk about more resources and tools for future planning. Helpful resources. So what do we have out there today? As I mentioned, there's a group called the Sibling Support Project, and they have SIB shops, which is Train the Trainer. And we are happy to say that we sponsor a group in the Bay Area that administers virtual SIB shops for SIBs. And really it helps siblings process emotions and connect with peers at a young age. And as noted previously, we also have a program that we've supported called SIB Thrive for adult SIBs to come together who did not have the opportunity to come together in their youth. As many parents know, as you may know as a parent, it's really important to have your peer network. And many siblings do not have an opportunity to meet other peers who can go with them throughout their lives and offer that emotional support. Planning tools. There's many planning tools and documents, and I'm sure many of you have seen them come across your email or workshops that help document care preferences and personal details. Again, there's person-centered planning tools. I took independent facilitator training and got trained on person-centered planning. Unfortunately, it was not my strength. With and for were terms I had to really focus on, but that's very important, as well as mediated meetings. And I think the regional center, the team at the regional centers obviously do a very great job, probably at helping discuss care and care options as well. So our supports within California SIBs. We also, as mentioned, have the Oh Shit Kit, which is still underway. We are hoping to publish that in the near future. We'll announce when that happens. Again, we are on meetup.com, and we have virtual and in-person meetups. Oftentimes what we're finding is SIBs, as they get older, get busier with responsibilities. And so we've found that virtual is the best way to get in touch with SIBs. And if you have an adult SIB in your life, please share our organization with them. Again, we have SIB shops, and we sponsor a group called SIB Shops West, who does virtual SIB shops. There's also an amazing organization in Orange County called Sandy Feet, and they do surfing SIB shops. And Mo Langley is actually on our advisory council and helps shape our work. And again, there's a sibling support community on Facebook. As many know here, the National ARC organization has a free planning guide as well. I've started working on that and hopefully can finish it with my mother in the near future, maybe when she's on bed rest from her knee this weekend. So we have a call to action today, and that is please start the conversation. In my family, we have not had the conversation, and I am here to channel that energy to you to say how important it is. I have sent my family emails, and I have asked and made requests, and I've tried to bring up the conversation, and it's, oh, your kid sister's going to do it. Don't worry about it. And that's the end of the conversation. So I anticipate in our family that when my parents can no longer support or take care of Natalie, I'm going to have to come together with my brother Philip in LA, who unfortunately lost everything in the fire, the Eaton fire, and come together with my kid sister Patricia. And we're going to have to talk about what does this look like. And I hope that that happens sooner than later. Please, again, connect a SIB to us at California SIBs. And if you live in another state, there are state chapters throughout the United States. Try to find a chapter near you through the National Sibling Leadership Network. Please use the planning tools to guide discussions, and we've shared that with you today. And please make future planning a family process, not a one-time event. Breadcrumb this, and make sure you envelope it into your, your month or your quarterly family discussions. And with that, you probably want to contact us. And I saw a couple chats. So you can find us at californiasibs.org. And our social media handle is at California SIBs. And unfortunately here you have my email, but you don't have Kaylin's. This was a presentation template. So Kaylin, did you put your email in the chat?
Yeah, it's excuse me, it's on the display, but it varies slightly from the handouts that are in the chat.
Oh, sorry, that's my fault. I'm looking at an old slide deck. Thank you, Kaylin. You did a good job there. Again, national support. So there's siblingsupport.org, who has SIB shops. There's the Sibling Leadership Network, which is at siblingleadership.org. Great website, amazing leadership. And they're doing a lot of great work there. And then again, there's Facebook groups. So SibNet, which has 7,000 members from around the world. There's SibTeen, Sib20, Sib-in-laws, siblings of schizophrenia and other serious mental illness. And then most importantly, I want to mention this. There's also loss of a special needs sibling, and that's a really important point to note. We need a space where if we anticipate caring for our brother or sister and we're not afforded that opportunity, we need to make sure that there's a space to connect with other people who have been in that same position as well. Because many SIBs do anticipate the caregiving. And with that, we're going to conclude the presentation deck. Just a big thank you and happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you both. That was a whole lot of information, and I think it's great that you kind of were able to share with us what reality is going to look like with your numbers and your experiences and all of that. I want to have everybody put in the chat questions, comments, concerns, whatever you want to say. Put that in the chat, and we'll be reading them. Lynn Deep is asking, what is the meetup called? How do they get access to that?
I'll put that in the chat.
Thank you. And so if you have a question, please put it in here. I had a thought when you were talking, and what do you think? And I mean, you kind of touched on this, but really just gut level. I've been doing this for a while, kind of knowledge base. what do you think is the number one thing that siblings are kind of troubled by or panicked by when they have that oh shit moment?
I think, the impetus behind the guide and why we're trying to get ahead of it and why you see us encouraging so much about future planning is that because it can be an uncomfortable conversation, and people avoid it, then you wait too long. And so then, your parent needs to go into a medical facility. They may pass away. And if you don't have that plan, then you are not only figuring out how does your brother and sister have a place to sleep that night? How do they come into your home or you move into the family home? You don't know how SSI works or, what a regional center is or any of
Right.
that stuff. And you're in the middle of your own feelings, your own grief, your own feeling scared about your parent being in the hospital or whatever the situation is. Um, as Sibs, I think we often have to do kind of all those things at the same time, like figure out how we're feeling, figure out how our family's feeling, and deal with kind of the practical situation. But if we can start to separate those a little bit and pull the practical things away from the emotional things, that's probably the number one thing is try to give a little space and breathing room.
So yeah, so I would imagine that just the emotional part is the theme, right?
Yeah.
Having those hard conversations, and acting upon them.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're feeling like, no, there's time of the essence right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Um,
also, I am
yeah.
very, very eager to get my hands on the Oh Shit kit. And I'm happy to look at any drafts that you have because, one of the things that, especially if this is, if a sib hasn't been involved along the way, or even if they have, the things when crisis happens, that is when even with the best intentioned, regional center staff, it's moving quickly in a crisis situation that is their weakest, skill situation. And so, thinking ahead anyway, I can't, I mean, all of this is just so fantastic it just helps think about things. I know that I have I have a 29-year-old with autism, lots of challenges and stuff like that. In self-determination, agree, it's so fantastic. But I have a very much younger brother. I have two brothers. One of them is much younger. And, thankfully we have talked about this, but it's, you just think about the important role that my siblings have played such a critical role for me. And one of the things I've noticed when each of us has each of our nuclear families, um, a crisis, often with their children, whether it's addiction or, whatever it may be. We have all learned over the years to come together. And I think the motivation for us, for our population, of like knowing that anything we can do to avoid estrangement and work on closeness now, or, knowing each other now before the crisis and before you have to open up that kit. That's what I just think what you've done is amazing. It's just amazing. So I really look forward to you know, all of your stuff that you produce.
We'll take you up on that preview.
Are there any like challenges that you've noticed that siblings come up with, or people stepping into that sibling role come up against in making that quick, fast transition to regional center, with the regional center rather? So, all of a sudden you're in crisis, and now Brother John is calling regional center and saying, I need this stuff right now, and they don't even know who he is. Like, you don't tell big horror stories, but any story or tips on how to, or reasons why this is such an important conversation?
Yeah, we've had a couple of examples of board members. One, I think her brother was not conserved, not even in the regional center system. And so it was, more of the the legal side of things and how the parents had set up all of the trusts and wills and that financial aspects of it. Another board member, her sister was in regional center, was in a group home that was also involved with her day.
She froze. Did she freeze for you guys?
Yeah, I'll text her.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to continue that answer, aren't I?
Do you know the story?
I'm gonna tell you one, and I'm sorry, you asked us about
Like, when
siblings
there's that
transitioning.
that quick moment when all of a sudden I'm brother or sister Darlene, and I'm stepping in, and regional center doesn't know me, I don't know them. Like,
Yeah.
how does that
Um,
best play out?
I haven't heard anything negative, which is probably good news. But what
So
I've
what should
heard,
expect?
pardon?
What should people expect then?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest hurdle that I've heard, well, there's a couple, but the biggest one is, well, I'll tell you three. One is the special needs trust was set up wrong, and the siblings had to spend $30,000 out of pocket fixing it. And
Mm,
that scares me. I actually funded my mom's estate plan and my sister's special needs trust with my bonus money because I was so desperate to have that document done. My mom, I don't know, man, like she's just so busy and so focused on the day to day. I stepped in and I'm like, I need this. I need to do this for my future. Secondly, another sibling who's on our advisory council, her brother was not a regional center client. And so what we're hearing is siblings who don't have their brother or sister in the regional center system and then have to prove it and then get denied. That's where you get the most frustration and people feeling lost. How do I get services? Okay, I'm denied. Now what do I need to do? Right. And going through that process. Many siblings live out of state or they live here and their siblings out of state. And so you're crossing state lines. Again, California has, oh, Kaylin's internet's down. California has the best support system for people with disabilities. My mom's from Indiana. She's never moving back. She says we have the best support system. And a woman in Orange County, she has a brother with Down syndrome. She took on his care and she's in her 50s and she's single and she took on his care and had to find an apartment and then had to work with the regional center on finding services. And I honestly think, again, our experience probably parallels parents' experiences in trying to secure supports. And the biggest worry we have, like Kaylin said, is where is my sibling sleeping tonight? And
right.
how can I maintain my career and my, economic freedom and still manage them in their life? And how do you balance that? And so for me, I'm with a great company in an amazing position, and I have a great team now that I'm trying to set things up for the future. And I'm in property management, and I tell my vendors openly, I need the best of the best because one day I'm going to have to be gone for 6 weeks and you're going to need to know what to do and what my expectations are. And so I've been training up the team that I work with at work to understand like that day is going to come like in, the next 3 years. And I think about that every day, guys. I think every day about transitioning from my mom to me and what does that look like? Because nothing's really set up. I'm begging them to move to Southern California. And my mom says after her second knee surgery. So we'll see. But I really want my sister Natalie closer. I really, really do. I'm going to put, if you don't mind, and I'm going to make a little plug, but I do a lot of work under the Natalie Project. And I have a newsletter which kind of shows you the work that I've done there around the Us Too movement. And I'll tell you, I realized I was a SIB when I found out my sister was a survivor, and I went, oh no, one day I'm going to take care of her. Who do I trust to help me? And then I went, oh no, one day I'm going to take care of her, and there's other people in that position. Where are they? And so I helped start the chapter, and Kaylin's been such a gift, and she helped us become a 501c3 and deliver great quality presentations and support.
Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Yeah. I think, again, as we're all getting, I mean, every day we get older, but my point of view, I spend a lot of time thinking about elder care and in my own family, and then just adding on the love and the stress at the same time. and the urgency or the frustrations that come from conversations that are had or not had, um, it's stressful, and you don't always feel a sense of control because you're not in charge yet, and you're trying to plan ahead, right? And
Exactly.
that's a careful dance.
Yeah. And I mean, and what I'll share with you is, my parents had a, typical life, I would say. They lived their lives, they got married, they had children, and then suddenly, 1984, my sister falls ill, right? And we don't know the true diagnosis. There's an assumption of vaccines or Chemlon or something. And they fell into the world, right? They're in the world, they're advocates, they're caregivers, they're doing everything they can. I have only known disability in my life. My parents did not know that before the age of 32. But for me, I have always had a sister who has high support needs. And I'll tell you, when I got married, and maybe Kaylin has a story here, but when I got married, and I realized how different life was not having to support somebody. For example, we could just go on vacation. You don't have to worry about, do I have enough, and pardon me, but do I have enough like adult underwear, right? Which would be like adult incontinence. Do I have all the medications, right? How are we traveling? Is Natalie going to be able to eat? When I'm with my husband's family, it's just, hey, let's go. And we go. And it's so different. And I think that was culture shock for me, to be very honest with you. It was culture shock. I did not know how different the world really was. And I really want the typical world. And I know Diana Pastora Carson does a lot of work, but we really need more inclusion in schools to have more allies. We really need more allies at a very young age. And I'm encouraging my daughters to do work around that and be really, inclusive.
Do you have, I remember at the beginning you had a list, but I wasn't thinking about this. So I don't remember the list. But do you have seminars or workshops or resources for the parents who are struggling with this? I mean, because I think that deep down, I'm sure our parents know that they have to make these decisions and they have to let us step in and be a part of the story, right? And so are there any resources for them to come to terms or to kind of grow into this next chapter for themselves as well?
I think Kaylin's the right person to answer that because
Oh,
she's moderated those and presented.
oh, so you've had them. Okay, well, that's good. Is she around or she didn't?
She's
Wait,
back.
okay, let's bring Kaylin back in if we can.
All
We're
right.
gonna there we are.
Sorry about that. My internet decided an inconvenient time to go down. So on my phone. Yeah, so we have an intro to SIBS workshop. So it covers some of what we talked about today, but in greater detail. We've found, it's hard to get parents back for kind of multiple times. So we get that intro that's just, hey, you've got another child, and this is some of what they need. And these are some of the things to think about. And then we would love to continue that journey with them. But, this whole community knows like life is busy and there's a lot of competing demands, and it's hard to carve out time for this. If any of you are interested, we would love to, partner or help, get another series going. But we definitely have that intro class available or workshop available that we've done a couple times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a complex situation. Okay, let's see. Well, I'm looking to see if I think I've been keeping up on any questions that people have. There was a comment, I guess I'd say, was it from Delphina, I think? Way back there. Yeah, Delphina was asking, and if you're around Delphina and you want to come on, you can, but asking about, when someone has really complex needs, uh, how does that how does that translate into your lives as siblings, and how do you support or know what to do for all of and still take care of the person? It was at 6:40, or excuse me, I'm on Midwest time, so it's at 4:41.
Yeah, let me take a look. Sounds like a great question. Let me find 441.
Yeah. Are you here, Delphina? Is she around?
I'm looking. Oh, it's in español.
Yeah, but underneath it, you'll see the translation.
Sí, gracias.
I'm unmuting her so she could ask her question and it could be
Oh, excellent.
interpreted.
Excellent, because I think it's a good question or a good comment.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Hola.
Well,
¿Cuál era? Quería que comentara algo. Perdón. ¿Aló?
yes, we're here.
Oh, están, yo creo que me están llamando por referente al comentario que hice, ¿verdad?
Yeah, I think it's a good point that probably a lot of people have in their head.
Sí, es que tengo un niño, bueno, un muchacho de 23 años y sus discapacidades son severas y únicas. Entonces, él, para lo que estaban diciendo, no aplicaba para él, por ejemplo, que él aprenda a hacer ciertas cosas. Su motor fino lo tiene demasiado dañado y no, no, no aplica para lo que está, no aplica diciendo que él pudiera aprender. Tal vez yo esté equivocada o no ha tenido el suficiente apoyo para lograr cosas. Su síndrome es que se puso una pantalla, ya se quitó. Su síndrome es síndrome de Ángel y debido a ese síndrome viene acompañado con varias condiciones. Y entre esas condiciones, su motor fino no le funciona. Sí agarra las cosas, pero le tiembla. Aparte de eso, le tiembla la mano o las manos, porque aparte de eso tiene ataxia. Combinado con motor fino dañado, es dificultoso para él lograr esas metas de agarrar cosas.
I think I understand the question. I would love to speak in Spanish and be fluent one day. And if I spoke in Spanish right now, it'd be too broken. But my sister, they thought she had Angelman syndrome. My sister has very high support needs.
I think we might have lost Delphina.
Yeah, I think so too. And I would like to
Okay, but Julie, you're there, right? And Kaylin?
Okay. Are we good?
No. Nina, are you there?
Sí, que de qué manera puedo buscar un apoyo para que mi hijo pudiera lograr más independencia, porque él ocupa ayuda mano sobre mano en todo, para bañarse, para cambiarse, para ir al baño, para comer.
Mi sister lo mismo. So mi hermana lo mismo. My sister cannot open a door. You could put my sister in a hot bathtub and she would just look at you. She does not know to get out. My sister does not open drawers. She does not open the refrigerator. If you leave bananas out, she'll eat the banana with the peel. She likes to eat plants. My sister is very, as my mother would say, very oral. My sister has very, very high support needs. So I believe that your son and my sister might have similar support needs, which is very, very high. And I believe you're here today. Perhaps you heard this was sibling focused. Does your son have siblings?
Y sí tiene un hermano que se graduó de matemático, pero él se quiere, sí quiere estar pendiente de su hermano, pero quiere, quiere trabajar en lo que él estudió. Entonces, es un poquito difícil cómo planear eso.
Sí, sí, es poco difícil.
Mm.
So what we find is, and Kaylin, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but most siblings come to us in their late 20s, mid 30s, definitely 40s and 50s. We do not see people in their 20s coming to us yet. They're finished with school, they're starting their career. So we again are focused on adult SIBs. And I would say what our main demographic is 35 to 55 years old, just to let you know.
Ok. Entonces sí hay apoyos para cómo planear qué y hacer, qué y qué hacer el hermano, porque él va a trabajar de lo que él se graduó, pero también quiere estar pendiente de su hermano.
Oh, muy bien.
There I go. Yeah, I think so two things, as Julie said, that in their 20s often siblings will go focus on school or career, or starting their own family, getting married, that type of thing. And so it's pretty common to pull away from the sibling and the parents and then to come back. So one kind of consolation for parents is they will come back most often. So just keep that door open, continue the conversation, even if it's just at the holidays or, the times that you're getting together as a family, try to fit in some of that conversation and keep that door open. The other piece is that, as you mentioned, with higher support needs, there are specific ways that you need to be able to support that person, whether that's physically or just knowing a different routine, or there's a lot of information that you as a parent need to help your other child understand so that they can be more involved. And the sibling is not going to get everything right the first time. So I have an example where my brother was in the hospital after his stroke, and we were trying to transfer him, and I thought I could hold his body weight, and he slipped down to the floor, and I was scared and embarrassed and upset, and obviously my brother was scared, but he was okay. And then we, figured out how to do safe transfers. And it wasn't the end of the world. So just recognizing that have grace and space for a learning curve, and for us as siblings, asking questions or not getting things right the first time or doing things slightly different, because you as parents have had a long time to practice, and so give us that time to practice too.
Thank you. Marie, I see that you have a hand raised. We have like 1 minute. Do you have a real quick question?
Gracias.
Gracias. What the other person tried to ask is when, where, and how she can get help for the unique and disability his son have it. Because she says his son, the other son want to help, but he want to work no part-time, full-time in his career. They understand it's very hard, but they don't find places or people to help and their specific needs, because her son needs 24/7. And she's asking you where and when or who can help to get more resources for supporting them and raise some problem.
Well, I think I was just going to say, I think that in general, that's probably a situation that you could probably use more support with now as well. So looking to your regional center, looking to whichever funding design you're in, if you're in the traditional, or maybe the self-determination might be a better model for all the needs that you have, but looking to the systems that you need, because that's what your children are going to need to support your son as well. So
Only
you to-
regional center?
Yes. Mhm.
But how about when regional center doesn't have all resources?
Well,
Where
they,
else like, we can find it?
yeah. Well, I think that they do have the resources, that you just have to put it in place as to how you're going to organize the resources. So that's probably, I mean, I think it's getting someone to help you. I don't know if you're in self-determination, but if you are, using your IF and really advocating for yourself, that you
And
need
Can you
those
let me
facts.
tell her what did you answer?
No, that it'll be translated. It's being
All right,
translated.
sounds
Yeah.
good. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
and I'm sorry if
Thank you
I
for
asked her
stepping up.
the same question as she did. Thank you so
No,
much.
that's
and
perfect.
bye.
Thank you. Well, that was great. I was happy you did that. Well, Julie and Kaylin, I want to thank you both very much. This was a great conversation. I think it's something that people don't often get to talk and hear about, and I'm grateful that we got to do that here. And I hope to see you all again and stay connected to you. I know that our missions align, and as well as our lifestyles.
Thank you so
Right?
much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I want to thank our interpreters, David and Lorna. Thank you for both being here with us today, and Michaela as well. All right. Take care, everyone.